So welcome to Caring. Welcome to Caring Kind, or the heart of Alzheimer's caring. And thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Ed Chisek. I'm the Chief Program Officer here at Caring Kind. I've been here for about 11 years. I just want to let you know that we are recording tonight's meeting. Although I'd love for you to turn on your cameras if you can, I understand that sometimes that's not possible. Just recognize that this meeting, it will be recorded. So please keep yourself muted unless you have a question. And if you're new to the organization, please try to attend one of our other meetings. We have an Understanding Dementia meeting, which really gives you the basics of dementia and goes more in depth on our programs and services. And it's available in English, Spanish, Mandarin, and Cantonese. And you can learn more about those meetings and register through our helpline, 646-744-2900. Just to cover what we offer here at Caring Kind, we have obviously a helpline. Many of you might have registered through the helpline. We have social work services for the more kind of in-depth support if you need. We have support groups, about over 80 across all 5 boroughs, and they are being offered virtually now or over the telephone for the time being. We have a monthly education meeting once a month, which that's what this is. We have training workshops for both family caregivers and professionals. We have our Medical Alert Wanderer Safety Program with financial scholarships available for some New York City residents. And we have our Connect to Culture program. We have relationships with many of the cultural organizations in New York City. And we have programs specific for people with dementia and or their caregivers. Again, you can find out more information about these programs on our website or call our helpline. I also want to tell you that after this meeting, probably tomorrow, sometime early in the day, you'll receive a feedback survey regarding this meeting. Please, if you have a chance, complete that. It really helps us to deliver the best possible programs. So just a little bit about our guest tonight. So today, our monthly education meeting is practical tools to help lessen caregiver stress from managing finances. And we're joined by Marcy Lobel-Ezrig. I hope I got that right. Marcy is founder, CEO, and general counsel of silverbills.com, which she launched in 2014. Marcy is an experienced attorney who attended Columbia, where she received her BA degree, and New York University School of Law, where she received her JD degree. Silver Bills receives, scrutinizes, and stores clients' household bills and ensures that bills are paid correctly and on time. Silver Bills greatly reduces clients' need for help writing checks and managing household bills, which can be a portal to fraud and theft. Silver Bills provides services throughout the United States and often partners with families, attorneys, social workers, and financial planners by providing technology-enabled household bill management. Silver Bills has improved the lives of countless individuals who otherwise would not have been able to age in place safely and securely. Every client is paired with a US-based account manager, and client computer use is optional. In September 2021,
no sabemos, se le da.
In September 2021, Silver Bills was awarded a $1.9 million grant from the National Institute on Aging of the National Institutes of Health to further develop its technological capabilities. We've known Marcy for maybe 5 years or so, and she was part of our first technology and caregiving fair. For those of you who might have attended that, and I think she's been part of a couple of them afterwards. And she's presented to caregivers and our staff in the past. So I want to welcome her back. Please welcome and thank you everyone for attending. So it's all yours, Marcy.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed, so much for having me. And thank you all for participating this evening. I really appreciate it. And I'll do a presentation. I'll give you a little background and then do a screen share, and then I'll be available at the end of the presentation for any questions, as well as provide contact information if anyone is interested in speaking in more detail. So as I've mentioned, I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney for a couple of decades, most recently at the New York Mets, the baseball team, the parent company. And when I was there, the Bernie Madoff scandal broke and my company lost about $500 million and almost the entire 401k of the company. And I worked on that crime for about 8 years and really became an expert in financial exploitation in a broad sense, not specifically for older adults or Alzheimer's patients, but in general, I had a very unique window into that crime. And at the same time, my aunt was aging in her home and she was really struggling with the process of managing her household bills. She needed help wading through the piles of paper that would arrive in her home. And her daughters did not live close by and they would spend most of their vacation, going through paperwork. And I realized that at that time, I did a lot of research into the overlap of those issues. And I learned about the $1 billion annual older adult financial exploitation problem in this country, often perpetrated because individuals often need help with this task and untrustworthy individuals offer to help and they financially exploit them by entering their homes and either stealing personal effects like jewelry or writing unauthorized checks. In fact, in my own community, a mom from my daughter's Girl Scout troop was just released from prison because she was helping a gentleman with this process for years. And it came to the attention of his adult daughter that she'd been writing one check to the water company and one check to cash and stole tens of thousands of dollars. So I decided to leave that job to start Silver Bells full time. And we've been working on this for the past several years. And now we're in all over the country. And as Ed mentioned, we obtained that close to $2 million grant from the NIH. So tonight I'm going to be talking about some practical tools that can help caregivers in general and some specific issues that Alzheimer's caregivers would be facing. I'm not going to be able to give any specific legal or financial advice to anyone in particular. I'm not here in my capacity as an attorney or as a provider of our services. Should you have any specific questions or want any information or referrals after this, first of all, Care in Kind is your point of contact, obviously, but anything that I discuss, I will provide my contact information. And first of all, we can answer questions. I'm sure there'll be time at the end of the presentation, but also you can reach out to me directly if anything comes up. I'm just going to share my screen now. Ed, give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Great. Okay, so as we've mentioned, the topic is practical tools to help lessen caregiver stress from managing finances. So the challenge in general, many of the associations of aging make this process increasingly difficult. Things like macular degeneration, arthritis, et cetera, make writing checks and opening envelopes, et cetera, difficult. And as you know, the issues that are facing your care recipients also make that difficult as well. And the consequences are not cosmetic, they're serious, like suspension of vital services, like electricity. I mean, we have examples, we do presentations like this on a whole variety of topics, and it's really heartbreaking to see some individuals as they're aging in their home lose electricity, not for lack of funds, but because of this process of managing finances becomes difficult. That can also lead to eviction or foreclosure and financial exploitation. So the first topic I'm going to talk about is financial exploitation. And as a caregiver, this is something that unfortunately is something that has to be addressed because there are significant impacts. The first one is obviously monetary, but I'm not sure if you're aware of the catastrophic and gargantuan problem that we face in this country because of financial exploitation of older adults. The Internet Crime Complaint Center in 2020 received over 700,000 complaints with a reported loss exceeding $4 billion. And typically, many of the victims are over the age of 60, and seniors. The estimates are about $1 billion to seniors directly, and many experts believe that these numbers are vastly underrepresented. So it's only getting worse for a whole variety of factors. We can't go into all of the details at this, in this meeting, but this problem is increasing. Beyond just the financial impact of financial exploitation and the trauma, it leads to a whole host of other effects that your care recipient may experience as a result of being a victim, including depression, anxiety, intrusive thoughts, rumination, and nightmares. So the effects of financial exploitation of your care recipients can be really significant, both, as I mentioned, financially and also health, both physical and mental health ones. There are so many scams. I'm on a committee that discusses scams on a semi-regular basis, and it's incredible the way these criminals just iterate their ways of abusing, particularly older adults. One that's kind of very rampant now is the sweetheart scam. This is very, very difficult to prevent and even to track because there is this desire for people to have autonomy over their lives and their finances. And this is particularly devastating. It's when a criminal basically uses insidious ways to maneuver into a allegedly romantic relationship and convinces the victim that he or she, is having this relationship with them. And once that is established, is able to perpetrate the scam and steal from them. The grandparent scam is one that's also the local attorney general, I happen to be in Westchester, provides a lot of training on this to high school students, particularly to help them alert their grandparents about this scam. Typically what happens is the individual will receive a call, usually in the middle of the night, waking them up. The person on the other end of the phone says, grandma, grandma, or grandpa, grandpa, whatever is appropriate, and then turns the phone over to another individual who says something to the effect of, I am holding your grandchild hostage, and if you don't wire, send whatever the method they're using, the money immediately, your grandchild is going to be in harm's way. So that's another example. Family member, caregiver, financial abuse. This is kind of a broad category. There's not really a specific example of this, but this is a very, it's very common for either paid caregivers or family caregivers to perpetrate financial exploitation against these victims. Home repair scams. I mean, the things I've heard are really heartbreaking with respect to home repair scams, including people coming in with types of vacuum cleaners where they're basically vacuuming out a lot of valuables. And tech support scams is when people share their screens, and then the perpetrators can actually steal personal identifying information from someone's screen. And sweepstakes and charity scams. This is when typically something is received in the mail and the criminal will ask for a small check in conjunction with sending the funds that the person has won. And once an individual has that type of personal identifying information, it's much easier to perpetrate additional scams. So what are the signs to look for among your care recipients? Frequent visits from courier services, numerous cheap prizes in the house, phone calls to and from foreign countries, identifying these sweepstakes. We had a client who enrolled with us who literally had bags and bags and bags of these sweepstake offers. Wire transfer receipts, obviously, foreign transactions or questions about foreign transactions, sudden inability to meet living expenses, and withdrawal and secretiveness that are not typical, that were not typical previously. And so there are things that you can do to help your care recipient prevent this and prevent them from becoming a victim of financial exploitation. One is to install the most up-to-date computer antivirus and security software, and malware protection are up to date. And basically, before I actually go into these specifics, I do want to say, your care recipients, I assume, are at different stages of the disease. So there's not going to be a one-size-fits-all solution in this case, because in some cases, they're not going to be using computers. right? And some they are. So I'm kind of giving a general overview and some general tips. Obviously, some of this might not be applicable to you based on where your care recipient is. So the next thing is, if you or your loved one has been victimized like this, disconnect, shut down, don't respond to any pop-ups, etc. Never open email attachments from anyone you don't know. Take precautions to protect your identity, and we'll talk more about that. And immediately contact your financial institutions to place protections. And each financial institution is different. So it's challenging to talk about the specifics, but reach out to your financial institution or the financial institution of your loved one. And so additional tools specifically to mitigate. I'm not going to recommend anything in specific, but there are a number of identity theft protection plans that you can use, which will alert you to identity theft and other forms of online issues. So I would highly recommend that you look into that. Shred documents. I used to do a whole seminar on this topic. I'll abbreviate that, and just to say that there are criminals who actually go through garbage to obtain personal identifying information that individuals have thrown out. So my advice is to shred anything with personal identifying information. That's bills, any kind of statements, etc. And invest in they're usually very inexpensive shredder. Please do that. Use a third-party service to block telemarketing calls. There are a number of them. Many of them are inexpensive, and this will decrease your care recipient's susceptibility to those incoming phone calls, because these criminals are using a whole host of ways to try to perpetrate these scams. And so you have to consider all of the different methodology. And so one of them is the phone, right? So, I mean, with our clients, we advise them not to answer the phone. If not necessary, people who know them will leave a message. If you can't police the phone like that, or you don't have someone who's aware that this could be a portal to theft and fraudulent activity, invest in one of these or other third-party services that can block some of this. And then try to decrease, again, we talked about the computer protection, the phone protection, and then the mail protection, right? So there are a number of services, and you can look right here, look on at this page on the presentation. There are 3 that are discussed right here. This can decrease mail coming into the home. Again, mail can be a portal to this kind of activity. So decreasing as much as possible this type of mail from coming into the home that has sensitive information, or that can be responded to with sensitive information, would be a very good idea. So I'm just going to briefly touch on this, power of attorney and guardianship. I really, as I mentioned, I'm not going to be providing any specific legal advice, but, and I'm sure Caring Kind has information about these topics. This is one of the reasons actually that we obtained the grant from the National Institute of Aging on the National Institutes of Health, because we know that people may not know when they're handed this diagnosis that obtaining these types of legal authority documents could be very, very helpful and can help prevent some of these problems from arising. So this is something to learn more about and see whether it's appropriate for your particular situation, power of attorney, guardianship. And then, I'm going to talk a little bit about Silver Bills, which is my company. We're really revolutionizing household bills using a combination of proprietary software and personal support. We're the first in the market to do this. And what we do is we receive, scrutinize, store, and make sure that our clients' household bills are paid correctly and on time. And computer use is completely optional on the part of our clients. They're assigned a US-based account manager who can help, who's someone on the other end of the phone, whose activities are monitored using leading AI-empowered algorithms and fraud detection technology. And a lot of that paper that's coming into the homes is received directly by Silver Bills. And we also provide business reply envelopes for anything that's in the future comes in. Our process is simple. We just need whatever bills the client wants us to manage, and they're onboarded with our account managers, where a monthly budget is established. And going forward, as I mentioned, we receive most of those documents. Each client, I won't go into too much depth, but I mentioned each client is paired with a US-based account manager. So just in general, I'm not an expert in general in caregiving, but I know and work with a lot of caregivers throughout the United States, and I know that they're overwhelmed with so many different tasks. And basically what we are is another professional team member who this job of financial management of bills can be outsourced to. And I'm proud to say that we have over a 90% client retention rate because of our account managers really helping with this process. And just a visual here, you don't have to look at this list. There's a lot of details that individuals need to attend to age in their homes. And we are an end-to-end service that will manage all of this. And it's a cloud-based system. So if individuals are granted authorization by the client or they have a power of attorney, they can log in at any time and see everything in one secure location. We have a benefit survey done by the University of Denver Noble Institute for Healthy Aging that provides some solid metrics for helping clients with this problem. And we have a management team of professionals with decades of experience. In addition, our partnerships, as I mentioned, we're part of AARP Innovation Lab. So AARP invested in the company in a seed round, and we've done some great learning and research with them. And then with the National Institutes of Health, and I'll bring at the brochure and Caring Kind's participation in that grant application, we are going to have services available for a limited number of caregivers to receive free silver bill services for 1 year. And so that is an opportunity that you all have basically through this grant that we've obtained to be paired with a US-based account manager from Silverhills who can help you manage your care recipients' financial bills and monthly expenses, et cetera. So that is an exciting development that was just announced by the NIH in September. And we are happy to be able to potentially offer that to you through this grant. We have some exciting investors. And now I just want to open it up to questions. I see, okay, let's see here. There are some in the chat, so I can read those first. Will the slides for this webinar be available? I'm not sure yet. I have to speak to my team about that, but I can provide our contact information and anything specific that was not obtained through the presentation, we can discuss with you. But likely yes, but I need authorization from my team before I say yes for sure. Can third-party companies be blocked from sending mail if previous charitable donations have been made? That's a very specific question, and I don't have the answer to that. I would, some of those third-party companies provide services for eliminating some of that mail, and I would direct that directly to those companies. One of them is catalog choice, so that's not really appropriate. The other is through credit reporting agencies, and it specifically pertains to limiting offers that are received for credit cards in the mail. So those would not be able to, but potentially there may be. What we actually recommend for our clients in terms of charitable giving, because many of them are charitable, but the problem with that is when you respond reflexively to charitable solicitations that you receive in the mail, then unfortunately, sometimes you're put on lists, and some of these charitable solicitations are not actually legitimate. So we recommend, and we help them, our clients, come up with an annual plan for charitable giving and to just simply shred those charitable solicitations that they get in the mail. We have access to a service where we can vet charities and really determine if they're actually who they say they are.
Marcy, I just want to jump in. You touched on power of attorney and guardianship. I just wanted to note that Karen Kind does have a legal and financial seminar offered a couple of times a month. You'd find very helpful information about things like the guardianship and power of attorney and advanced directives.
That's great. And I would really encourage everyone to address that and to attend. Any other questions, concerns? Anyone want to turn their camera on and ask? So also, oh, hi, Cynthia, yes.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes. Right, thank you. I have a question. It's a little bit of a different situation, but in terms of it started with elder abuse, but it was with a sibling. Anyway, after going to court, it was resolved with irrevocable trust. There was a court-appointed lawyer who's been handling pretty much everything that you're kind of talking about now to deal with, you know, the elder abuse that was occurring. But we're arriving to a point in terms of finances where, I mean, it's personal, it's my mother who has been living in her own home, paying out of pocket for everything. But as we get to a period where money starts to dwindle down, I've been hearing, and I don't really understand much about how it works with, I don't know if it's Medicare or Medicaid in terms of paying, but the fact is that while she doesn't appear to own anything because it's all been transferred into an irrevocable trust, I don't know, and granted, I haven't really spoken to the lawyer who is dealing with this because of the obvious, yeah, I just feel like I need to get my own information before talking to him.
So what you're referring to, I think, is community Medicaid. I assume you're in New York. And that's obtained through a pooled income trust is what it's called. So excess, your mother's monthly income that exceeds the Medicaid threshold is put into a trust on a monthly basis, and then she qualifies for what's called pooled in for community-based Medicaid, which can help pay for home care theoretically. So, but before I say anything about this, and I'm sure, Ed, there are definitely Care in Kind resources that discuss the Medicaid pooled income process. It's complicated, and so it's beyond the purview of tonight's presentation.
Okay,
but
sure.
I really encourage everyone who faces that type of situation to learn about New York's community-based Medicaid opportunities through pooled income trust, because it's an incredible option for some people where it's appropriate. So I'm sure, Ed, if you want to put in the chat, or if you want to just, you know, mention the resources Care in Kind has for community-based Medicaid.
Right. We also have an education meeting offered monthly specifically for Medicaid home care that kind of walks you through the process of applying, but also touches on some of those things like pooled income trust. So I strongly suggest you check out one of those meetings. It's done by volunteer attorneys.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
I just want to pull up on the screen. This I could definitely share with you. It's in draft form now because the program for the free silver bill service through the NIH is starting later this year. But we have, and if anyone wants this information, I'll put it in the chat as well. We are, this is the study that I mentioned, the grant. And so this is the information about obtaining the free silver bill services. And by the way, for those of you whose care recipients are enrolled in a pooled income trust, we work with all of those trusts. So as Cynthia will likely learn when she starts, you know, doing the research about this, it can be a little bit confusing and overwhelming to manage that trust, but we actually basically do most of the work for families when their loved ones are enrolled in the pooled income trust. So this is the brochure, and I'll give this to Ed as well. I'm just going to put this in the chat, and that's our number for information about the free. This is the 800 number, and Ed, I can provide you with the brochure, and if you want to give that to the participants. Let me just.
Thank you. And if possible, if you can change, if the guests can change their names on your devices, just maybe with your first name, just so we can connect who registered with who attended. That way we can get the survey out to the right people and these resources out to the people who attended. We just like to connect the people who attended with the people registered, because as you can imagine, there are a group of people who register but can't make it.
Okay, so I put the phone number here. It's 800-825-1924. And then another question is silver. It's silver bills, not silver bells, but a lot of people make that same mistake. It's available anywhere in the United States. In fact, we have contracts with local governments throughout the country. So Maui, Hawaii, our services are free for qualified residents, Arlington, Virginia, Bergen County, New York City Department for the Aging. That's another way to obtain the free services. So once the grant is exhausted, New York City has a program provided certain requirements are met, which is also free. New York City pays for silver bills. So that is the way we intend to proceed with that. Yeah, so anyone in New York City, Renee mentioned when it's exhausted, this potentially is free as well. If not, there's a sliding scale based on the situation. What's really interesting to me is that this is a problem that's faced by individuals of all socioeconomic backgrounds. So we have many individuals who are on the lower end of income, and many who are on the higher end of income with multiple homes, but they all either need or want to outsource this. Like people outsource their tax preparation to accountants. They want to outsource this to professionals who have insurance and who know the questions to ask, what types of, for example, insurance policies that individuals have, and when are they due, and taking care of those details. So the pricing varies based on the complexity. We have an enrollment department that can go over pricing specifically with anyone. Yes, so Steph, absolutely. If you can provide me with your name in the chat, we can follow up directly and potentially have a further meeting regarding Arch Care in Kingston. I'm just reading the chat now. We can provide specific information, but we work with a lot of social workers and get many referrals from social workers. So Steph, I just would need your contact information. Definitely time consuming. Yes, Renee, it's time consuming. And the issue is, first of all, the one thing we can't get more of, right, is time. So, there's other things I'm sure that you could be doing for your mom. So why not outsource it to professionals? That's my opinion. And also, first of all, we do monthly budgeting with clients. So we're really strengthening financial well-being. We have insurance. So for example, if you forget to pay your mother's long-term care insurance premium, there's no recourse. But with us, we have 5 different kinds of insurance to cover our clients for any mistakes, and we guarantee correct payment of all bills. So I think, that's why a lot of people hire us. I'm just trying to keep up with the chat here, I think. Let me see. Just I got Stephanie's email address. Okay.
Just want to jump in again and just say that the next legal and financial meeting at CareNCon is January 24th at 5:30. That's being held virtually. And our next Medicaid home care seminar is going to be February 3rd at 5:30.
Okay, so someone's asking about, yeah, I shared the contact information, but it's very simple. It's just, this is my contact information. We'll give you the flyers if the contact information is shared with Ed. He can distribute the flyers, which has our contact information. But then in terms of when a family is caught stealing money or any fraudulent activities, so we have a law firm that provides us guidance on a state-by-state basis, because we're not just operating in New York. So I would have to consult my materials about that. Different states have different reporting requirements. Some of them are mandatory, but it's always escalated to one of our attorneys, either internally or externally. And we handle financial exploitation very seriously, regardless of whether it's a family member or any other third party. Faye is saying, I'm not seeing your responses. I'm not sure, Ed, what to do about that.
Yeah, the
Tina?
telephone numbers you indicated that you provided, I can't see it.
Okay, it's up a little bit higher up on the, oh, okay. You know what? You're right. For some reason that just went to Ed. Let me put it down. I apologize.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
the
I didn't
two,
notice
it
that.
should be to everyone.
Yep. I don't know how that happened. Here is the number and my email address. And then specifically for the study and the NIH, it is, I apologize for that. Okay. Faye, I hope you saw that this time.
Yes, I do see it. Because
Okay,
the
great.
next thing that I am going to venture is the pooled income trust. So I may need to reach out to you. Bill paying is my forte, but I want to maybe reach out to you regarding the pooled income trust.
So what I would do is start off with the caring kind information about the pooled income trust that Ed was referring to. Ed, is there a link that you can provide to the pooled income trust information in the chat?
Now, I was told that Medicaid program basically goes over the application. I already did the application, and I'm just waiting the Medicaid number for the community services. And then I was told the next step is the pooled income trust. Does the Medicaid program go out? What's the percentage of talking about the pooled income trust versus the application? And I think that question's more for Ed.
Yeah, I haven't sat in it in a while, but I think, probably half of the meeting, a little over half the meeting is going over the application, but the other half is touching on those subjects.
Okay.
So I think you should be able to get something out of the meeting outside of just the application piece.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Sure. Anyone else have any questions? We have some more time, so happy to answer anything else. I'm going to put in the chat some of those the names of the services that can help reduce junk mail. And DMA choice has a specific section for caregivers, actually, in general. And these are kind of self-explanatory. Catalog choice. These are the 3 mail reduction services. And then the phone call blocking services, I'll put in here now. Thank you, Cynthia, for your message. Okay, Ed, any other items we should address?
I think you covered it all. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Marcy. This is great information. And
Thank
we'll
you,
let know.
everyone.
Yeah, and
Thanks
we'll,
very much.
if we can share the slides, then I will send them probably together with the survey.
And we'll send you the brochure in case anyone is interested in participating in the NIH opportunity. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. This was very helpful.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank
All right,
you.
take care. Good night.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.